Are we getting a little too excited, Will, about this squad?
More than a little. I mean, Stephen A. and his tease here, let's pump the brakes. Yeah, let's mash our feet on the brakes, both of them if you have to, because as you just said, Molly, it's 2 games. Look, credit where credit is due. They look very promising. This looks like a good team. And LeBron James deserves a ton of credit. He's the one integrating these guys into a unit. He's the one opening up shots for these guys to hit at a ridiculous rate. So they deserve, and specifically LeBron deserves, a ton of credit. But come on. I mean, this is mile 1 of a 26-mile marathon here. This is the beginning. And let me ask you a very simple question, because should we pump the brakes? First of all, Stephen A., I hear you this morning. I heard you in the first segment talking about this, the East is over. I've heard other people talking about this is now a real contender for the Golden State Warriors. This is insanity. This is way an overreaction. So I'll ask you a simple question. Is the team that you see on the court right now, 2 games, Boston Celtics, Oklahoma City Thunder, is that the best team in the league? I mean, is that team, the way you see it right now, better than the Golden State Warriors? Easy question.
No.
Okay, then we arrive at the conclusion what we're seeing isn't real, because the team that you're watching right now, they're number 1 in the league in field goal percentage, number 1 in the league in three-point percentage, number 1 in the league in opponents' field goal percentage, and number 1 in the league in opponents' three-point percentage. They're the best statistically, shooting and defending right now. No one, I would assume anybody with some level of, realism here, no one would say that's sustainable. No one would say this is the best team in the league. So let's pump the brakes and wait and see just how promising this team is. Let's see after reality settles in more than 2 games.
Well, I can certainly forgive your position, because obviously I'm talking to somebody who's learning basketball and you're about to listen to somebody who knows basketball. So I understand where you're coming from. But let me be very, very clear about this. You have a right to deduce, not just based on what you're seeing, but based on what you know the competition to be. For example, if I sat up there and I decided, for example, that, my knee wasn't hurting anymore and I wanted to play basketball, it ain't hard to conjure up the notion that I'd smoke Will Cain in a game of basketball. It really isn't hard. It's something that's very, very easy to predict. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that you can sit up there and you can look at somebody, look at the game of basketball, understand the competition around it, and then deduce from that what a team can or cannot do, because you're not playing against yourself. You're playing against somebody else. Can the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Sacramento Kings right now? Just 2 games. It's just 2 games. Can they beat the Sacramento Kings right now?
Yes.
I think they could.
Yes.
I think they could right now. Could they beat the Atlanta Hawks right now? I think they could. There's a plethora of other teams. They've only played 2 games. But we know. Hold on.
The way you did that makes that sound very rational. The way you just did that makes that sound reasonable, and it's crazy.
I'm answering your question. What I'm saying to you is this. Just because it's 2 games doesn't mean that you don't get to look at talent that you know exists, imagine them together, and then all of a sudden deduce from that, this is what they're capable of doing. So just because it's just 2 games doesn't mean you can't look at a Rodney Hood who's 6'8", can hit threes, and oh, by the way, can defend a little bit. That you look at Larry Nance and the utility player that he is, along with his activity and athleticism, and think about what that does for them defensively. That you can look at a Paul George, who's an experienced point guard, who's played in conference finals, who is universally recognized. George Hill.
Yeah.
Who's universally recognized as somebody that can defend at the point position, or a Jordan Clarkson who can create his own shot, which is something most of the Cavaliers had a problem doing before the trading deadline. You can look at those things and say, you know something? This could get interesting. You can do that.
Also, they didn't just beat the Celtics. They beat their brakes off. There's a lot of room to regress to the mean
Kevin Love
and still be better than the Celtics. They also beat the Thunder. It got a little interesting late, but they beat the Thunder comfortably. That wasn't a squeaker. They beat them comfortably and beat the brakes off the Celtics. And by the way, the Thunder were playing with their full complement of players. A lot of all-star and a couple of almost one MVP caliber player and a couple all-stars and some good role players, and they played together for a while now, etc. You can see that there will be regression to the mean. Ben Alamar, the head of our analytics department here at ESPN, and I have been communicating about this, and our friends at Second Spectrum have looked at some numbers, some of the analytics that show LeBron James is taking tougher shots and also making them at probably an unsustainable rate. J.R. Smith also is not going to just suddenly become Klay Thompson. But that's not the point. They don't need to be. To be better than the Celtics or the Raptors, what they need are the role players to make contributions. Generally speaking, without getting into specifics on every player, because we've done that a lot over the last couple days, they're younger, more athletic, more energetic, seem to get along better. So then the question becomes, in high leverage moments, do you see anyone in the East who is capable of beating LeBron James with a fellow all-star like Kevin Love and the guys that I just described?
Okay.
My answer is no, but the
Okay.
Raptors have gotten a lot better and the Celtics have gotten better. That makes it 3 teams in the East, and the Rockets have gotten a lot better in the West, making it 2 teams in the West. And we are right now in better shape in terms of excitement about the
Well, yeah.
playoffs than we were last year.
For sure.